Satiety, definition, index, food. What is satiety? How do we define it? What foods promote satiety? Let's try to see it a little more clearly. Definition of satiety: are you satisfied after a meal? You are satisfied. Satiety is the state of a person who is completely satiated after a meal. You are no longer hungry. In other words, satiety is defined as an inhibition of hunger and the ingestion of food. Where does the feeling of satiety come from? A certain number of signals are put in place to tell you that you are no longer hungry. The first signal is satiation for a food, but hunger may still be present. In the presence of nutrients, carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, etc., the gastrointestinal tract triggers nerve signals. The brain is then informed after a good 20 minutes of the quality, in particular the nutritional density and the quantity of the food ingested. Your cerebral center of satiety is then stimulated. You are satisfied. Important precision: energy-dense foods, therefore caloric, do not cause great satiety. The brain is informed after about 20 minutes of the quality and quantity of the food ingested. What is the satiety index? The satiety index corresponds to the duration of non-hunger after the meal. To simplify, it is the time that elapses between the end of the meal and the return of hunger, therefore the time elapsed between two food intakes. It is just as important as calorie intake from food. This satiety index varies from 0 to 500 maximum satietogenic effect. The more fatty and sweet, and therefore caloric, the food, the more satiating it is, and vice versa. But for obvious health reasons, we cannot consume only high-calorie foods on the pretext that they are satiating. In practice, you need a happy medium and reduce foods with too many calories by promoting good satiation. What hormone is involved in satiety? In fact, there are not one but several hormones involved in satiety. Once the brain has been alerted, and more particularly the hypothalamus, so-called anorectic hormones are released, namely leptin and insulin for the main ones. Leptin is the satiety hormone par excellence. It is released at the level of the cells present in the adipose tissue. It regulates fat stores and controls appetite. Quick feeling of satiety. Why? Where does it come from? Let's start with a little reminder. What is rapid or early satiety after a meal? One has the impression of being satiated very quickly even before having finished a meal, even if the latter is not gargantuan. What is it due to? Slow emptying of the stomach following a dysfunction of the nervous system or a reduction in the capacity of distension of the stomach. Sometimes, this feeling may be accompanied by gastric burns. What foods promote satiety? Foods rich in protein: meat, fish, eggs, complex carbohydrates, bread, pasta, rice, potatoes, pulses, etc., vegetables, dairy products. But the most important thing is to favor in the same family of foods those which present a high ratio of satiety index calories. Take the case of green beans, which have a higher ratio than carrots. In the dairy department, cottage cheese is more satisfying than yogurt. On the starchy side, lentils are more satisfying than wholemeal pasta. Advice from the dietitian: you have understood. To be able to feel hunger, to recognize and achieve satiety, you have to take the time to eat, to chew your food well.